My sister called my son a bastard at every family event. I made sure she never opened her mouth again. My son Mason was 3 the first time my sister Jessica called him a bastard. It happened during my mom's 4th of July barbecue. The backyard was filled with laughter, music, and the smell of burgers on the grill. Mason was running through the grass chasing bubbles while everyone watched him smile. Jessica glanced at him, took a sip of her drink, and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "He's cute. Too bad he'll always be the family bastard." The entire yard went silent. I looked around, expecting someone to tell her to stop. Nobody did. My mom laughed awkwardly and changed the subject. My dad suddenly became very interested in the grill. Everyone acted as if nothing had happened. I picked Mason up, told my wife Sarah we were leaving, and drove home. Later that night, Jessica texted me, "Don't be so sensitive. It's technically true. Mason had been born before Sarah and I got married. We'd already been engaged when Sarah's father suffered a massive stroke. Between hospital visits, medical bills, and helping her family, our wedding kept getting delayed. Mason arrived before we finally made it to the courthouse. 8 months later, we were married. To us, it never mattered. To Jessica, it became her favorite insult. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every birthday, every family reunion, she always found another opportunity. Sometimes she whispered it to relatives. Sometimes she said it while Mason was close enough to hear. Every time my parents defended her, "That's just Jessica. Ignore her. You know how she is." What hurt the most was that nobody ever corrected her. When Mason turned 6, he quietly asked me, "Dad, what does bastard mean?" Sarah and I looked at each other. I asked where he'd heard it. He whispered, "Aunt Jessica called me that when Grandma wasn't listening." The next morning, I called my parents and told them exactly what had happened. Mom sighed. "Jessica has always had a sharp tongue." "I don't care," I replied. "She's insulting my son." Dad interrupted. "You're making this into a bigger problem than it is." "No," I answered. "You're allowing it." After that conversation, we stopped attending family gatherings whenever Jessica was invited. Nearly 2 years passed. Then my parents announced their 40th wedding anniversary at a country club and begged us to come. Jessica promised she'll behave. I didn't believe it, but Sarah convinced me to give them one last chance. The evening started peacefully. Mason, now 8, proudly wore a navy suit and helped his grandparents. Relatives complimented his manners. Jessica arrived late wearing an expensive dress and immediately became the center of attention. For almost 2 hours, she behaved. Then dessert was served. My uncle finished a toast honoring my parents. Jessica stood up smiling. "You've always believed family comes first." Everyone nodded politely. Then she turned toward Mason. "Even when some people have children before bothering to get married." A few nervous laughs filled the room. She wasn't finished. "I guess every family has room for one little bastard." Silence. Mason stared down at his plate. Sarah wrapped an arm around him. Without saying a word, I stood and walked to the DJ. Earlier, I'd noticed family photos playing on 2 giant screens. I handed him a flash drive. "Please play this." He looked confused but did it anyway. The first photo appeared. Jessica at 19, holding a newborn baby. People frowned. The next slides showed hospital records, then adoption papers, then a photo of Jessica crying while signing the documents. The ballroom became completely silent. 2 months earlier, a young woman named Lily had contacted me through a DNA testing website. She was 24, Jessica's biological daughter, the daughter nobody in our family knew existed. Jessica had become pregnant in college, and my parents secretly arranged a private adoption while telling everyone she was studying overseas. Lily had shared every document proving the truth. I asked her only one question: "Are you okay if everyone finally knows?" Her answer was simple: "I'm tired of being everyone's secret." So I waited for Jessica to create the perfect moment herself. Back in the ballroom, every face turned toward my parents. Mom looked frozen. Dad couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Jessica shouted, "Turn it off!" The DJ looked at me. "Keep it playing," I said calmly. The final slide showed Lily smiling beside her husband and little daughter. Under the picture were 8 words: "I hope you're finally ready to acknowledge your first child." Jessica grabbed her purse and stormed out. My parents followed her. A week later, they demanded I apologize for embarrassing Jessica. I asked one question: "How many times did you ask Jessica to apologize to Mason?" Neither of them answered. 3 months later, Mason received a birthday card. There was no gift, no letter, only 3 handwritten words. "I'm sorry, Mason." He quietly folded the card and placed it in a drawer. Since then, family gatherings have been peaceful. Jessica still comes, so do we. She has never called my son a bastard again. In fact, she barely says anything at all.